The other thing, I guess, with Caleb Williams is, did you see the report? He's looking for stake in a franchise when he's drafted.
What is going on? Like,
is that fake news? Like, who came up with that report?
Let's be real. If it came out, I'm sure it's some fake, but some truth to it in some capacity. I don't think he would be against having stake in it. Now, is it as deal breaker as they might have make it sound? I don't think it's to that extent, but yeah, I'm sure he's, educated enough in this business element of it, and that's why you're even hearing him say certain things about what teams he is interested in playing for, what's where he wants to get drafted to potentially, because he's seen how it has worked in the favor of a guy like Eli Manning, how it's worked in the favor of guys that have said, I'm not going to go here. And we've seen the alternative to that is when they just draft you to whatever, and there's no guarantee that situation is conducive to you being successful. They don't care about that excuse. They just going to write you off and judge you based on that. So I think for Caleb, he's just trying to really, call his shot, and why he has as much leverage as he's going to get. Because once he gets to the league, you don't get that leverage. You got to play the contract out. Now it's a totally different ball game. But right now, he technically does have leverage because he could still come back to college. And the whole conversation in the past was, you're not going to make as much money. But the way that he's been communicating it is that he is making that type of money. So if he is making that type of money, then he doesn't necessarily have this clock of, I have to get up there in order to start getting compensation if he's already getting it right now. So he technically does have some leverage. It's interesting to see how this thing plays out, though, because it worked for Eli, but he comes from the Manning family.
I'm with you on the leverage thing. I just don't know what having stake in a franchise has to do with that right now.
Yeah.
Because he probably could. If he said, you know what, if I don't like the team that's picking number one, if it's the Bears or something, and then he can't get things situated with a trade for maybe some of the other teams that are interested in him, he could definitely go back to school.
Yeah.
And it is unlike the Eli Manning situation where he made his decision to go pro, and that was that. Chargers picked one,
Right.
and if they didn't trade him, he'd have to deal with that whole scenario. Maybe sit out a year.
It was funny, the temper tantrum. He was like, I'm not holding this jersey. I don't want to touch this thing. Leave me alone.
John Elway did the same thing.
Yeah.
It worked out for him.
He did baseball, right? He set out for a year, did baseball.
I think even now, Caleb Williams might be able to pick between like 3 or 4 teams, as opposed to Eli Manning and John Elway.
Yeah.
They just had whatever team it was trade up for them.
And
because if Caleb Williams doesn't like the team
scenarios,
that's trading for him, he can say, I'll just stay back.
And I think for him,
depending on the timeline of everything.
He also has the benefit that, like you said, with Elway had to go play something totally different. For Eli,
right.
if they would have played hardball with Eli would have had to sit for a whole season.
Mm-hmm.
So at least for Caleb, he's not going to have to worry about not playing. So now you talk the conversation of, is he rusty? Is he losing skill? A year away from the game, what impact is that going to have on him? You still wouldn't have to deal with that. And you from there, from a personal injury standpoint, you got to take one of them high-end injury policies, so that way you covered to go play this final season if you do come back. So yeah, he got some options though. That's why I was like, I think he.
I just wonder with the timeline of it, does he have to have his team picked before he decides to go pro or come back? That's probably it.
Yeah.
Because if you decide to go pro, and then maybe 2 or 3 teams that are looking to trade for you, you're not interested in going to those squads.
Yeah.
Then you might be stuck.
Yeah.
The stake in the franchise is just a really bold call, considering one, I think it's illegal.
Yeah, because they said with Aaron Rodgers it wasn't illegal, and that was the whole reason why they nixed that. So yeah,
it is illegal. Or
no, they said it was illegal. Like they said that you active player.
Yeah, Brady couldn't get the
Yeah.
Raiders franchise stake till
Right.
after he retired.
Uh-huh.
So that's, it's just a bold call. Brady and Rodgers can't get franchise stakes,
Hey,
and
man.
Caleb Williams hasn't even played it down in the NFL trying to get it.
While you got your leverage, man, you might as well go for all you can get, because we know once you sign the contract, it's a wrap, bro.
Float as much reports out there as you want. Just don't say
put your
it
name on it. Yeah.
whenever you're asked about it.
Yeah, don't put your
Say,
name
I don't even
on
know
it.
about that.
Just let it be out there. But I'm not asking, but what would you say about that if that were the case though, huh? Since it's the conversation. That's how you bring it up. Yep. Like, I didn't say that, but since we're on the topic of it, what you think about that? Is that an interesting thing to you? I can find that very interesting.